Okay, well, this is going to be my very first video ever. I have a 010 automatic transmission out of a 76 VW bus that I'm going to attempt to rebuild. I looked all over the internet, could not find anything about it. A couple small papers here and there, but nothing in detail. And no videos at all, so I'm gonna try to make this, see what happens. You're along for the ride, and I guess we'll start. So I don't know really what to expect at this point. I do have a master rebuild kit, which I'm going to open here in a second. I have done nothing with this transmission other than remove it and drain the fluid out of it and clean it up a little bit. The reason I pulled it is I guess this transmission is used in multiple vehicles. The filler tube comes in right here on my van, but he was working on it on the lift, and all of a sudden automatic transmission fluid started coming out everywhere, and I couldn't see where. It ended up being the secondary fill spout or dipstick tube. There's like a cup that sits up in there. It's just a piece of thin metal. Over time, water and debris and dirt and stuff get in there. And, this is the master rebuild kit that I did receive. Don't remember exactly where I bought it, but that's the part numbers, the information on it. So we're going to open it up. I haven't even opened it yet. See what we end up with here, and go to town. Okay, so it looks like we have a bunch of clutch discs and ring packs here. A bunch of seals, gaskets. Looks like another seal. A bunch of parts. Okay, so I'm gonna start the disassembly process. This gasket's already a little loose. It's not ripped or anything. It just comes off. I'm going to put it face down in this box. I got a box here for all my parts. I'm going to try to keep them in order. I may end up having to line them up across the back. And I got a little cup for parts. There's one screw here in the corner. I'm going to remove that, which makes this plate loose. I'm hoping you can see this. I haven't actually checked, but I guess I will in a second. There's another paper gasket on the back side of it. With that plate I just took off. Like there's a little rust and surface stuff in there. So I'll make sure to clean that up before it goes back together. Again, I'm going to lay it in order and wait for my came apart. Again, I'm doing this primarily to see how it actually comes apart. Feels loose. Well, maybe not. Oh, there goes. So there's the steel casing with the splines in it. After that, there's this bearing surface that is, so it got its teeth on it. Must sit right in there, yep. Along with this 3-prong plastic spacer. Okay, so this transmission was in park. I had to shift it into neutral here with the shifter mechanism. Just 2 clicks, park, reverse, neutral. I'm guessing at that point. This thing moves a little bit, but it doesn't come out. And I noticed there's a big seat clip or compression ring, whatever you want to call it, on the outside edge here. I'm slowly bringing out.
And we get to it in certain spots, so. There we go.
It's in good condition. Again, you can try to keep things in order as best I can. I'm assuming this somehow comes out now, which it does. Very interesting. Just a, whoa. Okay, well, one step at a time, I guess. Well, I'm going to stop the video for a second and reassemble this. But basically, it goes together a certain way with the splines on this plastic ring, which has bearings in it, so I gotta be careful. So it's flexible. On the back side of this, another bearing, which is, I guess, goes in one way, and then the actual spider gears on the rear side slide on there. There doesn't look like there's anything to replace in that piece. I'm going to try to keep that together. Everything looks good here, so again, I'm just going to try to keep these pieces together. The lip on the bearing goes down inside of where the spider gears are. But I gotta put this thing back together real quick. Good wipe down. And as you can see, it's keyed in certain fashions there. And then this, I'm going to be very careful with. It's like spring-loaded bearings, roller bearings with a weird spring on it that just has to go in there somehow. Well, that was very interesting. So, note to self. This whole, I'm going to show you hopefully carefully, this whole sub-assembly comes apart into like 17 pieces. So again, this is the front. You have your 3-tab washer, your bearing, your spider gears. This black ring is that bendable device with all roller bearings in it, which come out very easily, unfortunately. You flip it over, the main, I guess the drive shaft gears in there. There's another 3-tab washer, a spacer shim, more spider gears, and you know, these 3 layers are 3 separate layers, and they kind of all come together. So what I'm doing is I'm kind of just, I got it all assembled. I'm kind of trying to keep it all together as one piece. I'm just trying to, so I don't have to reassemble it from memory. And go forward. So we got this right now, and I can see some of the bigger gears in here, and then some of the stuff on the inside. But I'm gonna try to shoot a couple close-ups of video, maybe some things with my camera, just because it's starting to get a bunch of moving pieces, and I want to be able to reassemble this. So okay, so while I had dinner, I counted how many disc packs I needed for each, the large and the small. Counted them out. There was 4 of each. With some clean transmission fluid, soaked them up. Got 4 new steels. They need to be parts cleaned, obviously. So I'm going to do that. Start stacking the discs back together as they came out, and then we'll go back on to the next part. Okay, so I've got all the clutches and gears put together and aligned. I'll show you this mechanism here. There's a band that goes on the outside edge of this, and just pull straight forward. Click. And there's the band. It's a friction band. Goes on the outside of this drum. Both the drum looks pretty good. The band has still plenty of wear on it. This was not a replaceable item in the kit, so it's going back in. There is a bronze bushing in here. Bushing looks pretty decent.
Everything in there is clean, not marked, and that's just a solid shaft. I believe that's the pump shaft. The fluid will go through the center and out the back if you wanted to add a cooler. So all I'm going to do is use some of the training fluid I have here. Actually, let me back that up. I'm going to put the discs back in the way they came out. Again, the spacer, the big thick one last, or first, however you want to say it, followed by the discs. They are keyed in a way that you have to put them in a certain order. I already pre-stacked them. The small ones are all the same key shape. The larger ones have a distinct shape, and sometimes you have to align or flip the steels to make them fit. So again, this is the snap ring, and that's going to go back in. And I think I can just do this by hand. I should be able to anyway. Okay, it's back in. I'm just going to make sure the snap ring is seated fully, which it is at this point. We'll take the band, make sure it's clean in there, nice clean rag. A little dirt, wear and tear. Keep it nice and clean. Inside here, there's two knobs. One of them is moves. One of them is solid. They fit into the groove of this band here. Again, I'm just going to clean it up. Put the band back in. We have each that's keyed on the band where those posts are. Just insert it in there. I'll put some fluid on the edge of this and the bearing surfaces. And gently align it through the band and reassemble it. Here we go. That's step one. And then we'll just basically start reverse order, building it back out to the outside edge. Obviously I'll clean up a couple pieces here and there as I go. And we'll get this piece reassembled and we'll do the valve body. Okay, so I've got all the clutches and gears put together and aligned. I'll show you this mechanism here. There's a band that goes on the outside edge of this, and just pull straight forward. Click. And there's the band. It's a friction band. Goes on the outside of this drum. Both the drum looks pretty good. The band has still plenty of wear on it. This was not a replaceable item in the kit, so it's going back in. There is a bronze bushing in here. Bushing looks pretty decent. Everything in there is clean, not marked, and that's just a solid shaft. I believe that's the pump shaft. The fluid will go through the center and out the back if you wanted to add a cooler. So all I'm going to do is use some of the training fluid I have here. Actually, let me back that up. I'm going to put the discs back in the way they came out. Again, the spacer, the big thick one last, or first, however you want to say it, followed by the discs. They are keyed in a way that you have to put them in a certain order. I already pre-stacked them. The small ones are all the same key shape. The larger ones have a distinct shape, and sometimes you have to align or flip the steels to make them fit. So again, this is the snap ring, and that's going to go back in. I think I can. I should be able to anyway. Okay, it's back in. I'm just gonna make sure the snap ring is seated fully, which it is at this point. We'll take the band, make sure it's clean in there, nice clean rag. A little dirt, wear and tear. Keep it nice and clean. Inside here, there's two knobs. One of them is moves. One of them is solid. They fit into the groove of this band here. Again, I'm just going to clean it up. Put the band back in. With each that's keyed on the band where those posts are. Insert it in there. I'll put some fluid on the edge of this and the bearing surfaces.